This video is about creating a project schedule and specifically about creating a project timetable. It is about creating a Gantt chart that is also referred to as a project activities time bar chart. Project schedule is a project time management plan. It is a project management plan or a project management roadmap of activities that are executed by the project team in order to transform the project concept or the project objective into the envisaged project outcome. It is a project management plan or a blueprint that is used by project managers to dispatch the project activities that are to be executed by the project team members. Because it is a blueprint, its use by the project managers is not limited to dispatching the project activities for execution, but it is also used to organize and to direct those project activities. It is used to supervise the execution of those project activities, including the monitoring of their performance and the controlling of their deviation from the set course. Project schedule and project time management plan mean one and the same thing. However, usually when making reference to the project time management plan or to the project schedule, one could be referring to either the project network diagram or the project timetable, which is also the project bar chart or just the Gantt chart. Or one could even be making reference to the combination of the two. In this video, we will use the phrase project time management plan and the phrase project schedule in reference to the project timetable that is referred to as a Gantt chart. We do have videos on the project critical path on this Real Institute channel. These videos on the project critical path also address the project network diagrams extensively. You can access and view these videos to gain more appreciation of the project network diagrams. Let us quickly consider a few definitions in order to differentiate between these two aspects of the project time management plan or of the project schedule. First, let's consider the definitions that are advanced by the Project Management Institute, PMI for short, through its seminal document or seminal publication that is called the Project Management Body of Knowledge, PMBOK for short. According to the PMI's PMBOK, project schedule is an output of a schedule model that presents linked activities with planned dates, durations, milestones, and resources. At a minimum, the project schedule includes a planned start date and a planned finish date for each activity. A project schedule model can be presented in a tabular form. It is more often presented graphically using either the bar chart format or the milestone chart format or the project schedule network diagram format. According to the PMI's PMBOK, a bar chart, which is also known as a Gantt chart, represents schedule information where activities are listed on the vertical axis of a matrix, while dates are shown on the horizontal axis of the matrix, and the activity durations are shown as horizontal bars placed according to start and finish dates. Bar charts are relatively easy to read and are commonly used. According to the PMI's PMBOK, a milestone chart is similar to a bar chart, but only identify the scheduled start or completion of major deliverables and key external interfaces in a project. According to the PMI's PMBOK, project schedule network diagram is commonly presented in the activity on node diagram format, showing activities and relationships without a time scale, sometimes referred to as a pure logic diagram. This diagram with activity date information usually show both the project network logic and the project's critical path schedule activities. As already indicated, For the purpose of this video, we will confine ourselves to the project timetable version of the project schedule. It is a version of the project schedule or a version of the project time management plan that is usually referred to as the Gantt chart or as the bar chart. Therefore, for the purpose of this video, a project schedule or a Gantt chart or a bar chart or a project timetable is a table of sequenced project activities that culminate into a project time management plan. It is a bar graph, the bars representing the starting time, duration, and finishing time for each project activity in a project. It is the mainly utilized document in the management of projects. It is used to dispatch the execution of the project activities by the project team. It is also used to organize, to direct, to supervise, to monitor and control the project activities by the project manager. It is a vital project management artifact. Now back to the process of creating the project schedule. It is a scheduling process and it is a planning process. Project time management planning, also referred to as project scheduling, is a process that falls under the project management planning function and the project time critical success factor or knowledge area. It is a process of determining a project schedule or a process of developing a project time management plan. We do have videos on the project management functions and the project management critical success factors or knowledge areas on this Real Institute channel. You can access and view these videos to gain an appreciation of the project management functions and the project management critical success factors. Project management planning or project scheduling is a process that happens at the intersection instant of the project management planning function and the project time critical success factor. It is a process that is followed or that is utilized by project managers to create project schedules or to develop project time management plans. Project time management plan or the project schedule is a document or is an artifact. Actually, it is a model or it is a chart. It is a model or a chart that, when approved and authorized, is referred to as the project time baseline or project schedule baseline. That is, the process produces a document or it produces a model. This video is about that process. It is about a process that produces a model or a chart or that delivers a document. The document that is produced or that is delivered by the process that constitutes the content of this video, is called or is referred to as the project time baseline or as project schedule baseline. In a moment, we'll come back to the process. We'll come back to the project time management planning or to project scheduling. But for a moment, let us look at the document that is referred to as the project time baseline, or more appropriately, the document that is referred to as the project time management baseline, or that is referred to as the project schedule baseline. Well, first, a baseline in projects or in project management is an approved plan or it is an authorized plan. Each one of the 10 project management critical success factors has a baseline. Stakeholder engagement has its own baseline, which is the project stakeholder engagement management plan baseline, also referred to as the project stakeholder register baseline. Scope has its own baseline, which is the project scope management plan baseline, also referred to as the scope statement baseline and the WBS or work breakdown structure baseline. Time has its own baseline, which is the project time management plan baseline, also referred to as the project schedule baseline. Resources has its own baseline, which is the Project Resources Management Plan baseline. Procurement also has its own baseline, which is the Project Procurement Management Plan baseline. Risks also has its own baseline, which is the Project Risks Management Plan baseline. Costs has its own baseline, which is the Project Cost Management Plan baseline, also referred to as the Project Budget baseline or Project Costs baseline. Communication has its own baseline, which is the Project Communication Management Plan baseline. Quality has its own baseline, which is the Project Quality Management Plan baseline. And integration has its own baseline, which is the Project Integration Management Plan baseline, which is simply the Project Management Plan baseline, as it is the consolidation of the other 9 subsidiary Project Management Plan baselines. All these plans in project management are referred to as baselines. Only if and when they have been approved or authorized by the project sponsor and by the Project Governance Forum, a forum that is also referred to as the Project Steering Committee. Baseline or baseline plan or plan baseline simply means a plan that has been approved for usage or authorized for usage. The project manager in a project develops the project management plans. However, those plans cannot be utilized by any project stakeholder in a project before being approved or authorized for usage by the Project Steering Committee. They only become usable, officially usable in a project when approved or authorized for usage by the Project Steering Committee. Now, looking specifically at the Project Time Baseline or the Project Time Management Plan Baseline or the Project Schedule Baseline, it is used first as a roadmap by the project team or by the project team members. It is a guide on what to do and by when to do it. It is a guide on project activities. It is also used as a management tool by the project manager. It is used to organize project activities, to direct project activities, to supervise project activities, to monitor project activities performance, to control project activities performance variance, anomaly, or deviation, and to an extent to quality control and to quality assure the project schedule and the project duration. It is also used as a reference point, as a reference frame, as a reference terms by the rest of the project stakeholders, including the Project Steering Committee. It is used to evaluate the project time performance and to evaluate the project schedule performance. The purpose of this video is the process of developing and producing this important document, this important tool or artifact, or this important model. And that process is called Project Time Management Planning or simply Project Scheduling. The aim of this process is to arrive at a plan that will be approved and authorized as a Project Time Management Plan baseline or as an approved or authorized project schedule baseline. This process is made up of 5 steps. The Project Time Management Planning or Project Scheduling devolves directly from the Project Work Breakdown Structure, WBS for short. It is not a good project management practice to develop the project schedule without the work breakdown structure, or rather to develop the project schedule not from the work breakdown structure. We do have a video on the work breakdown structure on this Real Institute channel. It is perhaps better to access and view the said video on the work breakdown structure before proceeding with this project scheduling video. The first step of the project time management planning process is activities determination. The second step is activities durations determination, also referred to as activities durations estimation. The third step is activities dependencies determination. The fourth step is activities sequencing. And the fifth step is activities scheduling. The activities determination entails determining the actions or the tasks that should be completed as part of the project effort towards fulfilling the project requirements, towards accomplishing the project objectives, or towards completing or realizing the project outcome. The genesis of project scheduling and even the beginning of the project time management plan baseline or the outset of the project schedule are the project activities. Put more succinctly, project scheduling begins with the determination of all the project activities. In our video on what is a project, we define a project and explain it from three perspectives or from three levels. And in the simplest of the three definitions of a project, we define a project as a set of activities. As a set of activities that actualize a concept into its envisaged outcome. The said video on what is a project can be accessed and viewed from this Real Institute channel. At its fundamental definition, a project is a set of activities that actualize a concept into its envisaged outcome. For example, in a project of building a house, the concept is the desired house or the required house, and the envisaged outcome is the house that will be actualized or made real or brought into reality by the project. It is the activities of the project that will eventually bring the house concept into reality. It is the incremental value that each project activity adds to the project effort that eventually delivers a finished or a completed house. It is not a single activity of the project that actualizes the project concept into its envisaged outcome, but it is a collaborated set of activities of a project that eventually actualize the house concept into an envisaged house. The activities of building a house are consisted of the activities of building the house foundations, which are then succeeded by the activities of building the house walls or the house superstructure that includes electrical activities and plumbing activities, which also are succeeded by the activities of building or installing the house roof, which are also succeeded by the activities of finishes that include painting and other house finishes. The project activities are best determined from the work breakdown structure. This is done by a further decomposition of the lowest level work packages of the project work breakdown structure into measurable and manageable actions or tasks. Project activities, which are the measurable and manageable actions or tasks, should not be too simple and also should not be too complex. One of the yardsticks used to judge the suitability of an action or of a task as a project activity is the amount of time it requires to complete and the amount of time or number of resources it requires to complete. Depending on the nature and the complexity of a project, usually an action or a task that takes an hour or a few hours to complete, or that requires one or two resources to complete, is too simplistic to become a project activity, and as a result, it should be grouped with other related actions or tasks to make a project activity. Likewise, usually an action or a task that takes too long, say more than a month to complete, or that requires, say, more than 10 resources to complete, is also too complex to become a project activity, and as a result it should be decomposed further into several actions or tasks that each can make a project activity. Again, this also depends on the nature or on the complexity of the project. In our videos on this Real Institute channel, in our video on the compilation of the project charter, and also in our video on the development of the project scope statement, and also in our video on the development of the project work breakdown structure, we have used for illustration purposes a real life or a practical project as an example. This project example entails a project that is undertaken to build a custom sliding steel gate, as undertaken by Steelworks Manufacturing. These videos can be accessed and viewed from this Real Institute channel. The project work breakdown structure in our custom sliding steel gate building project has 5 milestones. We also refer to the 5 milestones as control accounts. And these 5 milestones are design, purchase, build, finish, and install. Each one of these 5 milestones were further decomposed into their respective work packages. As earlier stated, the project schedule devolves directly from the work breakdown structure. As a result, there are 24 resultant project activities from the work breakdown structure of our project. Example of building a custom sliding steel gate. These 24 project activities include the first and the last events. All project schedules start with an event that triggers the start of the project. And also, all project schedules end or finish with an event that signals the end of the project. Please note that in project management, and particularly in project time management planning, some project activities are referred to as events. And an activity that is regarded as an event has 0 duration. An event in project management is either a significant symbolic point or an instantaneous activity that does not warrant an allocation of time or duration. Significant symbolic point, usually referred to as a milestone in project management, is a point in a project time management plan, be it in a project schedule or in a project network diagram, that symbolizes a significant event. Examples of such include the start of a project, the end of a project, the start or the end of a project phase, such as the completion of the house foundation in a project of building a house. According to the PMI's PMBOK, a milestone is a significant point or event in a project. Milestones have 0 durations. Because they are usually not fully fledged project activities, because they usually do not consume or use resources. And these significant points or events are milestones primarily because they represent a significant point or event in the project time or in the project schedule. As you can see in our example of a project of building a custom sliding steel gate, the activity of receiving the customer gate order from the customer and the handing over of the completed custom gate to the customer are milestones. They are significant symbolic points in the project. So are the activities of approving the gate design sketches and the activity of transporting the custom gate to site are instantaneous activities that do not warrant an allocation of time or duration, hence allocated 0 durations because they are regarded as events. Also, as you can tell in our project example, These project activities belong to their respective phases or to their respective milestones. A phase or a project phase is simply a segment of a project schedule that is dedicated to a specific milestone, and as a result, it fulfills or produces a milestone result. For example, in a project of building a house, the activities that fulfill or produce the house foundation milestone are grouped into a project phase that has a similar name, house foundation project phase. Same goes for the house roof phase, which is constituted of project activities that together and collaboratively fulfill or deliver the house roof milestone. Also, as you can tell in our project example, 22 of the 24 project activities belong to their respective phases or to their respective milestones. From project activity number 2 to project activity number 5, the action of measuring the site, the task of sketching the drawings, the action or the task of approving the drawings, and the task of compiling the bill of quantities together belong to the design phase of this custom sliding steel gate building project. So are the activities number 6 through to activity number 16. They belong to the purchases phase. The same can be said of activity 17 and activity 18. They together belong to the build phase, and they fulfill or produce the gate structure milestone. Similar logic applies to the rest of the project activities of this custom sliding steel gate building project. Then, when satisfied with the list of project activities, then the next step is to determine or to estimate the amount of time it will take to complete each project activity. This is to determine the project activities' durations. In determining the project activities' durations, you have to take into consideration the amount of work that must be completed, which entails determining the required amount of time to complete an activity. This also involves determining the amount or the number of resources that are required to complete an activity. The duration for individual project activities, which is the time required to complete each project activity, are determined or estimated by using common sense. Common sense means that as a project manager, you can access and use the industry standards. Say the industry standard production rates, you can use the industry standards for the project activities in your project. For example, one of the construction industry standards of laying bricks stipulates that a competent bricklayer should lay about 500 bricks per day. And therefore, in the project of building a house, the activity of building the house walls has a predetermined duration of 20 days if the walls of the house require 50,000 bricks and if the project utilizes 5 bricklayers or 5 human resources. The calculation is 50,000 bricks divided by the product of 5 bricklayers multiplied by 500 bricks per day. Common sense could also mean that as a project manager, you inquire or ask from the human resources that will be performing the activities in your project to tell you their rate of production in their jobs. For example, in a project of vaccinating a community against malaria, you can inquire from the vaccinators or from the inoculators how many vaccine jabs can they administer per day. And if a vaccinator can administer 300 jabs per day, then the activity of administering vaccines in a project of vaccinating a community against malaria has a predetermined duration of about 33 days if members of the target community are 100,000 in total, and the project will utilize 10 inoculators, with one inoculator having a capacity to administer 300 jabs per day. The calculation is 100,000 community members divided by the product of 10 inoculators multiplied by 300 jabs per day. That yields 33.3 days. Common sense could also mean that as a project manager, you use your experience, or what the PMI's PMBOK refers to as expert judgment. That is, you apply your expert judgment. You can also access the documents or the records of previous or similar projects within your organization. From these documents, you will be able to see the durations of activities that are similar to the activities of your current project. Our example of the custom steel gate building project has 24 activities. And through, say, expert judgment or through the steelworks manufacturing standards, we have allocated durations to all of the 24 activities as demonstrated. All the events have 0 durations. Activity of measuring the site has a duration of 1 day. The activity of sketching the drawings has a duration of 2 days, and so forth until the activity of hanging and testing the gate with a duration of 2 days. Remember that the primary purpose of project management is to ensure that projects are undertaken as effective and as efficient as possible with regards to scope, time, resources, cost, and quality, just to mention a few project critical success factors. Project managers are appraised or judged mainly by how efficient they are in planning, but also, and perhaps more importantly, on how efficient they are in completing their projects as close as possible to their plans. That is, how efficient they were in planning relative to how efficient they are in the delivery of the project outcome. How efficient they were in planning the scope, time, resources, cost, and quality relative to how efficient they are in the delivery of the project outcome with regards to the scope, time, resources, cost, and quality. Therefore, on the aspect of project time and project duration, it is incumbent on the project manager to be as efficient as it can be practically possible in planning project time relative to how the project will perform regarding time and resources. If the individual project activities durations were underestimated during planning, then the project manager will be caught by the project activities that get delayed or completing later than planned or later than scheduled, resulting in the project being late or being behind schedule. The project sponsor or the project owner or the customer or the client will frown at this. Similarly, if the individual project activities durations were overestimated during planning, then the project manager will be caught again by the waste of costly resources who sit idle waiting for preceding project activities to be completed. That is, the project will be overpaying for resources, in particular the human resources, resulting in a costly and inefficient project budget. Such indictment on the project manager is undesirable. Then, when satisfied with the list of project activities and the allocation of their respective durations, or their respective required time to complete, Then the next step is to determine or to line up the succession of these project activities. Seeing that the project activities cannot all be done simultaneously, some project activities have to be logically and practically be done and completed before other project activities can be started. For example, again, in the project of building a house, the house walls bricklaying activity cannot start until all the house foundation activities have been done and completed. The house walls bricklaying activity has a dependency on the house foundation activities. The house walls bricklaying activity is dependent on the completion of the house foundation activities. The house wall bricklaying activity relies on the completion of the house foundation activities. Logic and theoretical know-how and practical experience may be necessary in doing justice to determining the project activities' dependencies. In our example of the custom sliding steel gate building project, we have also established the dependencies or predecessors for all the activities as demonstrated. As you can see that activity 2, major side gate, has activity 1, which is receive custom gate order as its predecessor. Also, activity 3, sketch the custom gate drawings, has a dependency on activity 2, which is major side gate. On the other hand, activity 18, weld steel components into a steel gate structure, has two dependencies, these being activity 14 and activity 17, which are the order or purchase welding rods activity and the cut steel into components for the steel gate structure activity, respectively. Then, when all the project activities dependencies have been determined and finalized, then the project activities can be easily sequenced into a timetable or plotted on a chart or listed in a tabular and chronological order in a project schedule. Sequencing is a function of primarily the succession or the dependency of the project activities, and of course their respective durations. However, the project start date is key. Durations and dependencies on their own are not enough to determine the project schedule, but the start dates and end dates or finish dates for each project activity are important. The assignment of the start dates and finish dates for the project activities is done in the order of their succession, in the order of their dependencies. And this can only be done once and if and when the project start date has been determined and agreed by the project sponsor or by the project owner or by the customer or client. Well, a project start date can be determined retrospectively. Say in cases where the project sponsor or the project owner or the project outcome user or beneficiary wants the project outcome to be delivered by a specific date. Once the project start date has been determined and agreed, then that date is assigned as the start date of the first project activity, which in all cases is an event. Therefore, the first project event or project trigger or project kick-off will be assigned the project start date as its start date. Then its duration will be added to its start date in order to arrive at its finish date. In the case of the first activity or the first event, the start date is always the same as the finish date because it has a zero duration. Then all the activities, if there is more than one activity, all the activities that have the first event as their predecessor, all the activities that have the first event as their dependency will also have their start dates same as the start and the finish date of the first event. In our example project, the custom sliding steel gate building project, the project start date is Monday, the 1st of September. As you can see that the first event, the event receive custom gate order, starts and finishes on the 1st of September because it has a 0 duration. And then the succeeding activity, being the activity measure gate site, will assume the same start date, which is the beginning of the 1st of September. And it will have the finish date of the end of the 1st of September because it has a duration of 1 day. Then the third activity can only start the day after the second activity, meaning that the activity sketch drawings can only start at the beginning of the 2nd of September. And because it has a duration of 2 days, it can only finish at the end of the 3rd of September. The same logic is extrapolated throughout the activities in their succession order or in their dependency order until the last activity, which is a closing event of the project. These 24 activities of the example of the custom sliding steel gate building project can then be easily plotted into a project schedule. By a project schedule, in this case, we mean a Gantt chart. A project schedule or the Gantt chart, also referred to as the project timetable, is a table of sequenced project activities that culminate into a project time management plan. It is a bar graph with bars representing the starting time, duration, and finishing time for each project activity in a project. According to the PMI's PMBOK, a Gantt chart is a version of a bar chart that refers to the representation of the project schedule information, where project activities are listed on the vertical axis of the matrix, where times and dates are shown on the horizontal axis of the matrix, and the project activity durations are shown as horizontal bars placed according to the start and finish times or dates. A Gantt chart, whether it is hand-drawn on a chart, whether plotted using a word processor or a spreadsheet, or even using a project management software, is projected in a hierarchical form. As it is the case with the work breakdown structure, at the highest level of a Gantt chart is the total project, which is usually stated as reflective of the name of the project. It is also depicted by a continuous bar filling the entire project duration from the start of the project to the finish of the project. In our example project, this custom sliding steel gate building project, as you can see, at the highest level is a single entry that has an inscription custom steel gate. It is depicted by a continuous purple bar filling the entire project duration from the start of the project, which is day 1, all the way to the finish of the project, which is day 20, implying that this project has a duration of 20 days. Then a level below the total project, however still at high level, are the project phases that are usually depicted by the names of their respective milestones. The first event and the last event of the project are also plotted at this level of the Gantt chart, at the level of phases or milestones. You'd recall that earlier we said that all project schedules start with an event that triggers the start of the project, and also that all project schedules end or finish with an event that signals the end of the project. In our example project, the custom steel gate building project, as you can see, at the project phase level or milestone level, we have plotted the 5 phases or the 5 milestones as they are in the work breakdown structure. And these phases or milestones are design, purchase, build, finish, and install phases. And they are light shaded blue bars, with each starting and finishing where their respective collective activities start and finish. They are depicted as though casting a shadow over their respective collective activities. Also depicted at this level are the 2 events, the start event and the finish event of the project. Events in a project schedule are depicted by a diamond-shaped dot. As you can see, the event receive order and the event handover gate are sandwiching the 5 phases. Everything else in the project happens between these 2 events. Then at the lowest level below each project phase or milestone, the project activities are plotted. This is also done by way of horizontal bars, demonstrating the start, the duration, and the finish for each project activity. The succession and the dependency among the project activities is depicted by way of lines that connect each project activity to its successor activities, and vice versa is depicted by way of lines that connect each project activity to its predecessor activities. In our example project, the custom sliding steel gate building project, as you can see, the project activities are plotted under the shadow of their respective project phases or project milestones, and they are dark-shaded gray bars, with each showing its start date in the schedule and its finish date in the schedule, while also showing the duration for each. Duration is obviously depicted by the distance between the start and the end of each bar in the project schedule. Then lastly, the bars that represent the project activities that lie on the critical path of the project schedule are shown in red. The project critical path and the critical path method have a dedicated video on this Real Institute channel. In fact, there are 2 videos, a short video and a longish video on the critical path. You may access and view these videos to gain a better understanding of the project critical path and the critical path method. In our example project, the custom sliding steel gate building project, as you can see, the project activities and events that are on the project's critical path or the project schedule's critical path are the activities and the events: receive order, measure site, sketch drawings, approve drawings, determine a bill of quantities, purchase decor, mount decor, transport gate, hang gate, test gate, and handover gate. None of these critical project activities can be delayed when the project work is underway without delaying the entire project or without prolonging the total project duration.